Yo, what is going on? What up, Alejandro? What up, Sam? How y'all feeling today?
Feeling amazing.
Bro, I feel great.
Yo, it is a sensational vibe. We already have people hanging out inside here. Shout out to Josh getting on before the call even started, before the podcast episode started, saying like, yo, appreciate the value that we've been dropping. I'm excited for tonight's episode because we're going to be having another candid conversation. So if you guys were here last week was a sick candid conversation. And honestly, quite frankly, we're getting back to the sort of like podcast episodes that I personally listen to. I enjoy being a fly on the wall for just like real talk that people have, that business entrepreneurs have, that individuals who are working on their business, working on their life. I just like knowing what's going on upstairs in their mind. And tonight, I think we're going to be talking a little bit about just really what entrepreneurship has been like and the kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because there's so much to entrepreneurship nowadays that I think there's a misconception about what it means to get into entrepreneurship, what it means to become an entrepreneur. And I think we got to provide some perspective from our own experiences. So tonight, I'm looking into being able to talk about how we've been experiencing entrepreneurship in our journey. But before we begin, if you're new, if you're on the Instagram, come over to the YouTube channel. I know some of you are streaming in right now on IG. I can already see that on IG there's some people watching. Comment the word YouTube on the IG post. You will get a link to the YouTube channel where it's going to be a much better format because on IG it looks pretty dang terrible. But at least on YouTube it's way nicer. So come on over. But guys, I'm excited for tonight's like just open conversation about entrepreneurship because I spent probably 4 hours today on the phone talking between you and I, Sam, us having a conversation. We were on the phone for about an hour and a half. I got to talk to a buddy of mine, Dacre, this awesome kid that I've known since like my days in parkour, who's been doing his own stuff in business. And he's just been crushing it low key for the last 2 years. And he and I were just catching up today. So this is a very timely conversation that I'm excited about. Also, shout out to Joey Chavez in the chat, Chef Joey.
Dude, love Chef Joey. That guy's an absolute freaking badass. But dude, thank you for that call today. I think that call was it gave me a lot of clarity that I needed. And I think what a huge portion of what we talked about today was kind of what we're going to talk about literally today again. And that is part of being an entrepreneur. And honestly, this is a conversation that could probably go for 7 whole damn days because there's so many differences. There's so many positions and points and seasons. And I think that I'm going to lead with that today. But I love Marlon just zooming in on himself. It's the best thing ever. But I want to hit on this. I think, what does it mean to be an entrepreneur and what's it like in entrepreneurship? I think the most critical thing that I can think of right now, and it's understanding where I'm at. Dude, you're distracting me. It's in the best way possible. I think the most important thing that I can think of right now, and this is a theme for today, is understanding what season you're in, understanding what it's going to take to get you to the next season. And here's the critical point, making the hard freaking decisions when they need to come to force yourself to grow. And that was a big theme to our call today.
Dude, you know what? And like, let's kind of give some context to that because when we talk about this, it's funny. I literally, like I said, I was on the phone with you. I was on the phone with my buddy Dacre, and we were like, the same conversation came up where it's stepping into the world of entrepreneurship. Most people step into this place, if they're anything like us, right? They came from having a job, right? I think all of us came from a W-2. Alejandro used to be on the lines, like banging it on the phone, making calls and working in the car dealership. Sam, you worked with the government, and myself, I worked as a parkour coach. So I came from a W-2 job among many jobs. Everyone in New York has like 5 jobs. And so even shifting from jobs to becoming an entrepreneur was a shift in identity in order to get into this place of, hey, now I buy real estate. I go out and I solve problems. I'm a real estate investor. I'm this, I'm that. There's an identity shift that had to occur. And the previous identity, which was serving me, which provided a life that was good. It allowed me to pay my bills. It let me go on vacation. It let me hang out with my friends. It let me just do what I needed to do at that stage in my life. that particular identity had to die so that the new identity can have room to live. Kind of like when a kid is going from being a young kid to a teenager and a teenager to a young adult, there are certain things that you've got to lay to rest that you don't really bring with you into the next chapter, that they served you as memories, but you don't try and stay in the second grade when it's time to move to the third grade. So you and I were talking about this because entrepreneurship will do this to you. It will you'll graduate, you'll get into a new grade, you'll start making money, right? This happened to me. I'll just share details, right? Like I got into becoming a real estate investor. Awesome. Flipping houses in Milwaukee. Cool. Made my first 6-figure month ever doing house flipping. We're like, whoa, I can make 6 figures doing this, right? Was wholesaling, was buying properties, and things were cool. I was making more money than I had ever made. And then I started to discover my absolute passion, which is coaching entrepreneurs, which is unlocking people's mindsets. And Sam, you and I were having a conversation 2 weeks ago. We were at a private mastermind, and this very private mastermind, as we're there, we were hot seating me. I was sitting in the hot seat and I was explaining, I began to present to you guys like, hey, this is what like I need help with in my real estate business, this, and this. And you guys were like, wait a second, your real estate business? Aren't you growing your coaching business right now? And I was like, well, yeah, but like I gotta do this for my real estate business because, and they're like, well, what are your profit margins on your real estate business as far as like your cash flow? And I was like, well, you know, it's bringing in like right now my rental portfolio, after everything's said and done, we're netting maybe like $3,000 a month. They're like, dude, you make more than that in a single transaction doing this coaching that you absolutely love. Why are you spending so many hours trying to stabilize such a small amount of cash flow? And you guys called me out on it. You said, look, no offense, but I think you need to hear this. I think right now you're too concerned about how other people view you and holding on to this identity of being a real estate investor. And you think somehow that gives you validity to do the next sequence, that you need to hold on to who you used to be in order to be who you're becoming. And when you said that, I was like, holy crap, you are absolutely right. I'm holding on to this old identity and I'm struggling to shift, or in that moment, I was struggling to shift because I didn't want to let go. I had readopted a mindset that I had previously shed off, which was don't play from a place of defense, play from a place of offense. Don't play the game on how not to lose. Instead, play the game on how to win. And it was interesting to see that I was coming back into like having to deal with this again, because that's entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship is you think you dealt with the problem once, but the beast reemerges, right? You cut off the head and 3 more pop up. So yeah, like I just wanted to share that with you.
Dude, it's so good. I love that. I love the fact that you were able to interject the Hydra from Greek mythology into
There
it.
it is, Hydra.
The Hydra. I'm such a nerd. But that being said, dude, you're absolutely right. And I hope you're okay with me sharing this, but I think it may have been me that called you out on it. I asked you, like, you know, what's your average profit per flip and all these things. And that's good money. The flipping is good money, right? You can make 50, 60, 70K per flip. And I think it was either myself or one of the other guys in the mastermind. We said, you chasing those paychecks is the reason you won't make millions in coaching. That $60,000 flip is why you won't make 5 million in the next year coaching. And when you start realizing that the amount of money that you're making in something can actually prevent you from making exponentially greater in a better thing, in a better vehicle. And I want to tell this story. I think it really matters. It's the story of Hormozi when he went to a gym kind of a gym event. And he got invited to this mastermind event where it was an aggregation of a lot of gym owners, and most of them were actually like virtual digital product salesmen, they influencers who would sell fitness packages online, right? And Hormozi was like the only guy who had a brick and mortar location. And then he had, I think, about 6 of them. And when everyone would go up and present their business, and they would present like, you know, what their numbers were, what they look like, what their packages, and everyone is selling digital products, right? They're like influencers selling stuff on Instagram. Hormozi would then go up and he would talk about how he scaled six, physical brick and mortar locations, essentially with no upfront cost, and packed them all up front. And as he's presenting this, the person who's the head of the room, right? The person who's the head of the room, the host of the event, who makes over $1 million a month, he cuts Alex off and he says, "Hey, man, respectfully, what the hell are you doing?" And Alex like, "What do you mean?" He's taking pride. He's got 6 brick and mortar locations and no one else in the room does that. It's only him. And he's the one who does it. And the guy tells him, "You've got a level 10 skill set and you're in a level 2 vehicle." And what he's showcasing is that Hormozi knows how to fill up a gym. He knows how to do it all with basically zero spend up front, have maximum occupancy, crush it on the launch. And he was focused on getting just more brick and mortar locations. And the guy said, "No, that's below your pay grade. You have a level 10 skill set, which is the highest skill set that you can have. And then you're in a level 2 vehicle, which is a vehicle that won't get you to where your goals are if your goals are to become a multi-billionaire," which is obviously, we all know, that is one of Hormozi's main goals. And so what did he say? He said, "Your focus should be on packaging your knowledge and teaching other people to do the exact same thing." And lo and behold, that was the birth of Gym Launch, which he would then go to scale. And at the age of 29 years old, he had a $150 million valuation for that company, exited it at $46.2 million. And it's what changed? Just how he spent his time. He got out of the level 2 vehicle and got into probably a level 8 vehicle. Marlon, you've got a level 10 skill set in mindset, marketing, influence, and coaching others. And for you to spend an exorbitant amount of time chasing real estate transactions, which are great, and I know you're still going to keep buying real estate for the rest of your life because it's important, but the active side of it is costing you millions, if not billions, in the long run, going and chasing a level 10 vehicle. And there's an important point of clarity there for everybody. I would say that everyone here should go and study what level your skill set's at and what level vehicle you're playing in. And sometimes it's really critical to know that it's okay to be in any given vehicle at any given time. But if your goal is to grow and grow and grow and be exponentially greater than you've ever been before, then sometimes you're going to need to call yourself out and hold yourself accountable to leaving a level 2 vehicle because you're ready, truthfully, for a level 5 vehicle.
I would agree with you. And I think what the analogy I've been using a lot to talk about entrepreneurship, because when we think about what is entrepreneurship, I want everyone to start to frame entrepreneurship like this in their mind. I look at entrepreneurship totally as a sport. This is my sport. Entrepreneurship is my sport. Before this, I was a parkour athlete. Sam, you played tennis. Alejandro, did you ever play any sports?
Oh, yeah.
Yo, what did you play, bro?
I play almost everything, bro. I actually, I did somewhat of parkour as well, believe it or not. I did baseball, played soccer, did kickboxing, karate, cycling, track and field, I guess you can say. I used to run around the island when I used to be back in living back in St. Martin. I've always been competitive.
Dude, this dude really is Bruce Wayne. He was like, "Yeah, I trained with Rashan Ghul."
The League of Assassins and Nanda Parbat. Oh God, you guys gonna get me to geek out again today.
I almost got into parkour full time, bro. Until I saw somebody like split their neck until I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm not.
Oh, that's a thing. All right, never mind.
Yeah. You get messed up in parkour, but so we've all played sports, and so if we looked at any of the individual sports that we chose, first off, if we thought about becoming a professional, right, what would be the odds that I'm going to say, I'm going to go and become a professional basketball player, I'm going to make it to the NBA while at the same time pursuing my NFL career and NHL career and being a gold medal Olympian? It sounds absolutely asinine when I say it out loud. And yet, a lot of people right now are running their business like this. They're doing entrepreneurship the exact same way. I'm going to go become a level 10 entrepreneur in real estate. I'm going to become a level 10 digital media marketer. I'm going to become a level 10 Uber driver. I'm going to become a level, like they're like trying to become level 10s of everything all at the same time. It wouldn't make sense. And so I have to constantly bring myself. This is what I do for myself, because the feeling of being an entrepreneur is that you feel like you can do it all. It's that same feeling that made you quit your job. It's that same feeling that made you take the leap of faith. That feeling like I can make it happen. I can do it, which is a good feeling at certain points. And then sometimes it becomes a dangerous feeling. So when I start to reference it as an athlete, okay, I believe that I can make it to the pros. However, I understand it means I'm going to have to be dedicated, disciplined, and focused. I've got to be dedicated, disciplined, and focused. Also, knowing that I want to make it to the NFL, I also recognize that entrepreneurship is going to require some difficult challenges from me. It's going to require hard times. When I say hard times, how many people think LeBron James doesn't really have to work that hard in practice anymore just because who he is? He's naturally gifted with this big, strong body. He's got to act like he's good at basketball. Do people really think he doesn't have to work at practice? Or do they think that LeBron shows up and he works his ass off at practice still to this day? Right? Because they understand in order to get to the next level in your sport, you have to work and you have to be willing to go through the gauntlet. You have to be willing to go through the valley of death. So when we look at what entrepreneurship is going to feel like, it's going to feel like that. It's going to feel like knowing that you willingly signed up to go through the valley of death, which means some days you're going to wake up and you're not going to want to do it unless you're in love with the game. You've got to find out what it is about the game that you love. Because if you don't know what it is you love about this game, you're not going to keep showing up. It's like being in a marriage. If you don't know what it is you love about that other person, why are you going to keep working on the marriage? You wouldn't. This is why we would like marriages end in divorce. This is why more businesses fail than succeed. More businesses fail than succeed. Understand that. Like winning in business is just like getting into the pros. Like more kids don't make it into the NBA than who do. But for some reason, I think it has a lot to do with social media, and you're only getting bits and pieces of people's journey, bits and pieces of their entrepreneurial path that you're assuming. You're making the mental assumption. You're filling in the blanks of what the rest of that person's life looks like, and you're assuming that they're constantly winning, that everyone is successful, everyone is crushing it, everyone started yesterday, and they're making $1 million in 90 days. Like you're making that mental assumption, and it's messing you up on your journey. Because I can tell you, when I go on social media, I know this logically. I literally coach other people with this. And when I get on social media, I still get the feeling by watching other people that everyone else is crushing it and I'm not working hard enough. I'm not working fast enough. And there's something wrong with me. I get that feeling still to this day. So logically, I have to remind myself, I got to reframe my own life, my own situation, my own position to keep me in the saddle so that I can just go back to work on my farm and I can go back to work doing what I need to do. I can only ever speak from my own personal experience, but I just want to share what the entrepreneurial path is going to feel like, because again, like people quit because when this feeling comes up, they think there's something wrong and they choose to stop. And that is the worst thing you can do if you're on your true journey. If you're truly walking your path, the worst thing you can ever do is stop. Like when I pick up the phone and I call Sam and I'm like, Sam, bro, I am like in the middle of breaking down right now. I'm not calling him to bitch and complain so I can stop. I'm calling him so that I can work through my process and I can keep going. Right? Like there's a saying, like, who says it? E.T. Eric Thomas. He says, you're already in pain. Don't cry to give up. Cry to keep going. Right? Like if you're going to cry, let those tears be so that you keep going. Don't let it be like you're crying to stop. Cry so that you keep going. So, man, I could go in on this topic right here, but like I'm curious, like to know what is entrepreneur. I want to know what does entrepreneurship feel like for you guys. Like speak to me from like less tactic today, more like what should a person anticipate? What are some of the feelings that they should anticipate feeling, or that you've not even that they should anticipate feeling? Forget other people for a moment. Like, what are some things that you guys have felt that maybe surprised you or shocked you on your journey that you've had to work through, that maybe like, even if you knew it was coming, it was still like, yeah, that was a tough experience to go through emotionally, experientially. That was something that definitely, this is where most people typically stop.
Go for it, Alejandro.
Man, I would say for me, bro, the something that really shocked me and it shocked me till this day is how much I changed personally. I've changed completely, bro. I'm telling you, if you guys met me 5 years ago, I swear you would not think it was me. I mean, Marlon, I've showed you my older Instagram.
Bro,
If
it
you
blew
guys
my
know me,
mind.
you can find it if you want. Even my older friends are like, "Whoa, dude, who are you?" And it just happened. It was a a journey that forced me to become a new version of myself, and that was for some reason it felt right. It felt right. It was like, okay, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time anymore. I don't feel like I'm letting people down anymore. This is great. This feels great. And then once you start building businesses and all this, you start to experience new emotions such as anxieties to the next freaking level. Like huge anxieties, bro. Like, whoa, what's going on? And I don't have anxieties where like, oh my God, what's going on? Anxieties like, what? What's happening right now? Like, what's happening? So, like, the most shocking part for me, bro, is just how much I've changed personally. Like, I can like, I talk different, I move different, I walk different, I think different, I absorb different, I conversate different. Everything, like, is just completely different. I'm a complete different human, bro. But I still have that love and personality I always had, always caring about people, always caring about, the loved ones in my surrounding, just in a different way, you know? And it's really hard for them to really hard for them to understand it. And that's okay. Because it's no longer, oh, he's gonna be around all the time. No, I'm working, and I FaceTime my mom every single night. So that way when all that shit I went through all day, it reminds me why I went through it. Just talking to my mom on FaceTime, talking to my grandma on FaceTime, just watching her smile and she's seeing me working hard. It's the best thing because there's been times where my mom was the one paying my phone bills. My mom was the one letting me sleep on her couch. So it's a different smile now. It's a different, and she knows the love is still there. But that's what it was for me, man. As far as like, what to expect, and also just expect all your old friends, they're gone. It's no longer. Don't even expect to. That's going to be the hardest thing because naturally, what you're going to want to do is take your friends with you. And shockingly, you're going to find out they're holding you back if you try to do that. It's selfish for you. This is crazy. It's selfish for you to drag your friend along into something that makes them comfortable, if that makes sense. Because this is your life, and if you decide to get better, that's on you. Your friend doesn't decide to get better. It doesn't make him less of a person. He's comfortable where he's at, or she's comfortable where she's at. Let her be, let him be, let them be, let your friends be, and move along. You're going to lose them. And till this day, I still talk to my older friends. There's never been like, oh, bro, I can't talk to you anymore. It's just we disconnected. Everything that we had in common, it's no longer. I don't go out anymore. I don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't talk about random stuff that doesn't benefit me and my family anymore. The conversations just they drift. It doesn't work anymore. So you're gonna have to find new friends. But in between that, between the old friends and finding your new friends, there's gonna be a gap where you're by yourself. You're gonna feel alone. You're gonna feel lost. You're gonna feel like no one understands you, and that's natural. And once you find that new circle, that new friend, you're going to see that you were not the only one that felt like that. It's just really uncomfortable for your brain to adjust into a new environment. And it's your job to continue pushing. So whenever you feel like quitting, trust me, that is the perfect time to continue pushing. So,
Ooh, I like that. And like the analogy that I want to use for that, because like what you just said, like You will adjust. You absolutely will adjust. And think about when a person jumps into a water. Like any of you, like Joey's in the chat, Victor's in the chat. Think about when you were a kid, even now to this day, when you go out to the beach, you go to the pool, you're on the boat, you're jumping into the lake, you're jumping into water. There's always like that anxiety of the shock of going in and being in like the water is cold or the water is whatever. There's always like this shock initially. And you know logically that you still got to get in the water, right? Like I'm at the water park. I got to get into the water. I want to ski behind the boat. I want to water ski. I got to get into the water. You know, you can't separate the two. It's a part of the process. And yet there's still this anxiety around having to go through it and that shock factor that occurs. But instantly after you get in, what happens? The water starts to feel refreshing. The new environment, the change begins to feel refreshing, but there will be that shock to the system. There's going to be a shock at that beginning. And that's a part of entrepreneurship. Like entrepreneurship is you're signing up for yourself to constantly get tossed into different bodies of water where there's going to be a different shock each time, knowing though that after the shock wears off, the water will feel refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that.
It's damn. This is such a good topic because like I said earlier, like we could go on for like 7 days because there's so many micro nuances to what you guys are going to go through, what you're going to experience, what it means. And the reality is some of the experience, they're going to be seasonal. Sometimes you're going to have that season of the three of us have been through it where you get in and you're freaking lonely because everyone that you thought was going to be with you for the rest of your life is gone. Sometimes even family will dissipate. Which is always kind of difficult sometimes. It will take a strain on a lot of things. Eventually, you're going to find your circle. You're going to find your brothers like I have here. And there's going to be uncomfortability after that too. It never actually gets any easier. What just happens is you just find different problems that are unique and different and just requires something else to solve. And that's it. So if you guys want to know what it really feels like to be an entrepreneur, get used to solving problems that no one around you has solved before. And that's the reality of 90% of this game is as a new business owner. I've someone really close to me. They're starting up a small business and I'm pouring into this person and they're trying to, generate some leads for their business. It's not in real estate. It's in a totally different industry. And I'm like, hey, no one around you knows what the cash conversion cycle is for any of the marketing methods you're doing. You have no KPIs for understanding how many leads is it going to take for you to get a client? What's that average spend look like? How many people are you going to have to hire? What's your sales process look like? And in this person's industry, it's way smaller than real estate. So what does this mean? There's probably less people who've actually done it at a high level, which means this person is going to have to go and solve problems that may not be easily accessible, right? So get used to solving extremely high level problems. Get used to solving a problem, celebrating it, and the next day another bigger problem comes up and it seems like the end of the world. And here's a critical thing. Problems will continue to keep coming up. They will continue to feel like the end of the world. Every time they do, realize that it's okay. The world is not going to end. Don't back down. Don't buckle. Don't hide away from those problems. Get used to solving them and get used to actually being able to tell yourself, I don't know the answer. And that's okay. What ends up happening so often is I don't know the answer. No one around me knows the answer. It can't be done. And then we back away, we falter, we fail. The real answer is I don't know the answer. No one else around me knows the answer. And that's okay because I'm not going to stop until I find it out. That is a critical component of being an entrepreneur is actually, I would say before anything else, before you're a marketer, before you're a salesman, before you're anything else, you're just a problem solver. Get used to being one. And this is an important reframing of the mindset for someone who's coming off a W-2. Because in a W-2, if you're doing your daily tasks and something happens, you can always go ask your boss. And your boss is probably going to have the answer because they've already SOP'd the business because you work at a giant conglomerate or something. It's been done before. You're creating a new business that didn't exist. I want people to understand the power and the magic of being an entrepreneur. You are actually freaking crazy enough to will something into existence. Marlon, like when I think about this for myself, for Arch, all my companies are branded after Arch. When I think about the fact that 2 years ago, the Arch brand was nothing more than a gamer tag on Xbox. And now the Arch brand is a conglomerate, is employing people, is allowing people to go and feed their families, is providing sellers with opportunities. We're innovating in certain spaces. And I'm not going to talk about it here, but Marlon, you know what's going to happen with the Arch brand over the next year, 2 years, and it's going to be unfathomable. And the reality is the Arch brand didn't exist. We literally just manifested that shit out of thin air. Entrepreneurs, you guys are actually crazy enough to do that. No one else can. And that is freaking beautiful. But it comes at a cost, and that cost is getting really, really, really good at solving problems and doing anything you have to do to solve a problem. I think that's actually the core of being an entrepreneur.
I agree with that 100%. And, you know, adding into that, like that framework, that mental framework of recognizing, you said it, a lot of people are coming from the W-2 job. And in the W-2 job, you were able to recognize, hey, if something didn't get fixed today or if it didn't get solved, there was someone else you could turn to. And I think one of the biggest reality checks that like sucked personally, like I'm going to say like what sucked, right? Like I did not enjoy this kind of reality check was when I would get frustrated in the past. It almost felt like, actually, I'm about to tell a quick little story, right? Because when we get frustrated, a lot of people stop. They stop moving, they stop working, and they think time will solve the problem. They're convinced that like the time formula just will let time go on, because in the past when I was a kid, time went on, my wounds got healed, time went on, my parents did the project for me, time went on, like school took care of the situation, time went on, and someone else came and took care of the problem. And over the weekend, we went hiking, and we took Daryl's little brother up a really difficult hike, and it was the first time this kid ever hiked. And Daryl's brother he doesn't go out and do some of the difficult things that we do. So we wanted to introduce him to some difficulties. And on that hike, you know, the kid broke down. The kid's 9 years old. He broke down, just starts crying, just standing in place on the mountain, like afraid to go up the next step, just crying, screaming at the top of his lungs. And we just had to have a real moment with him. Like, listen, your tears mean nothing here. Your tears, go ahead and cry, but that's not going to solve the problem. You could cry for the next 30 minutes, but understand your tears aren't going to actually move the needle in any direction. And entrepreneurship is very similar, that when you come to a problem, when there's a frustration, something that terrifies you, the standing still and crying and complaining about it doesn't actually solve the problem. And yet it is still your responsibility to figure it out. And you have to be okay with understanding that's what you signed up for. You signed up to say, the puck stops with me. And your job is, hey, if you want to, here's the beauty about it. Because it's your responsibility, you also get to now design and create the world where you can put other people in charge and you can empower them to be able to solve the problems. However, at the end of the day, it is still ultimately your responsibility. Your employees mess up, it's still on you. The deal doesn't work out, it's still on you. The marketing doesn't work, it's still on you. And so being an entrepreneurship is, there's a weight that you will start to carry on your shoulder in the beginning phases. Anticipate this. I want you all to know that you're probably feeling this already. You probably don't even need me to tell you that you're feeling this, but you're feeling this heaviness on your shoulder. Like, wow, I feel overwhelmed and stressed. And this is why you need to hire people. Because as an entrepreneur, your mind is so absolutely aware of everything. You are very hypersensitive and hyper aware of every moving piece in your business. When you begin to hire people and bring people on board, what you're going to do is you're going to think internally, you're going to be like, oh, is this even right? I'm about to overwhelm this person the same way I'm being overwhelmed right now. No, you're not. Because your employee will not be thinking about all the things you're thinking about. They don't see all the things you see. They don't have that level of awareness that you have. And so you put them in just one position and they're able to offload that stress from your back. But it feels like you can't do that to another person because you're like, why would I want to unburden myself by putting the weight on their back? It's okay if you're feeling like that as an entrepreneur. The solution is learn how to hire, learn how to ask for help. As an entrepreneur, that surprised me. I had to learn how to ask for help. In fact, one of my personal KPIs for my own personal development, I keep KPIs for my business. I keep KPIs for my personal development as well. If you guys aren't doing this, I would highly recommend it. If you need help doing this, reach out to me. I coach people. I will give you my KPI tracker for free. You do not have to pay me. People pay me a lot of money for that. But if you tell me that you came from episode 39 of the Think Big podcast, you just DM me on Instagram. I will give you my KPI tracker for free. You do not have to pay for it. Just let me know that you came from this episode.
Oh, I'm DMing right. I'm doing it now.
Serious, because like I keep a KPI tracker for my business, but then I keep a KPI tracker for my personal development. And one of my things that I track as this is what Marlon needs to have as a skill in order to become the next version of himself. I have to get better at asking for help because as an entrepreneur, you are going to feel overwhelmed. You don't want to get out of the fire. You want to stay in the fire. So I want to be able to ask for help. I want to be able to tap in with my brothers, Alejandro, with Sam, with different people that can help me stay in the fire longer because that's where you get forged. You get forged by the fire. Stop looking for things to be convenient. They will not be convenient, but you should be grateful that they're not convenient. You should be grateful that there's a fire there because this is the fire that doesn't prevent. This is the reason you don't have to worry about competition when you get on the other side of the fire. When you walk through the fire and you're now on the other side, you don't have to worry about the same level of competition that you're seeing before the fire because before the fire, it's a crowded room. Everyone's there. On the other side, that room got chopped down 90%. On the other side of the next fire, chopped down another 90%, and so on and so forth. It's absolutely bonkers. And again, I want to express this out loud because I had to figure out the hard way. Oh shit, all these other successful people have gone through this too? Are you guys kidding me? I'm over here thinking there's something wrong with me. No, there's nothing wrong with me. You're going through the process. Right? You're a work in progress, working through the process.
I want to add on to that, Marlon. And this is crazy because a lot of people always ask me, bro, how do you do this every day? And I answer that honestly, bro, just having really powerful self-awareness. And I've learned that through meditation in the past 4 years. You should meditate. And what's crazy, those people don't meditate. Every day moving forward, they're always stressed. Oh, man, this is so hard. Hey, bro, did you meditate? No. So it's crazy. Like people don't want to do the simple things that can make them better, make them a better entrepreneur. You don't even have to be an entrepreneur to be meditating. That's non-negotiable, period, in your life because self-awareness is so powerful, bro. When I'm sitting here and there's people fire here, fire this, I sit back, I walk outside, meditate for a little bit. And meditation doesn't have to mean you have to close your eyes and be like, that's not what it means. You're being aware of what you're having, like you're putting your thoughts, you're bringing it down to just one thought. What is going on? Let me focus on just this one thing right now. Because naturally, as humans, when we start to focus and our brains start to focus on multiple things at the same time, that's where stress starts to build up. That's where anxiety starts to build up. So what I do, I just disconnect, right? Even though I start time block, people will call me. Even though I tell them, don't call me if it's not an emergency, people still call me. I walk outside, leave my phone in another room, meditate for a little bit, come back. Okay, what was the most important thing out of all those fires? Okay, great. Let me write this down. Can this wait till tomorrow? Yes, it can. Let me text Marlon about this. Hey, I'm going to do this tomorrow. Can this be done later? Does it have to be done today? No. Okay, move to tomorrow. What needs to be done today? Okay, this needs to be done today. Focus on that. Come back, and I feel accomplished. Done. My day is done. Okay. So a lot of people feel like, oh, I got to get this done today. I got to get this done today. You're killing yourself, man. Relax. Prioritize. Find how important those things are.
And you just said something, Alejandro, that like for me, I want to mention this. It's a marathon, right? Entrepreneurship is a marathon. Please, like, you know, you look at Sam and you're like, man, Sam's killing it. He's only been doing this for 2 years and he's absolutely crushing it. So if I'm not running at his pace, I'm not doing something right. Well, you forget that there's a foundation that was built in before the 2 years of a lot of different things that Sam had his life experiences, not just business experiences. There are life experiences that built a foundation so that when Sam arrived on the scene, he was not in the same starting point as everyone else. Recognize if you haven't done the foundational work, you don't have the same advantage or you're starting at a different place. And when we start to want to go after things, a lot of people, you get motivated. You become a motivated idiot, right? You're motivated and you're ready to run through a wall, but then you don't know how to properly utilize that motivation. Use that motivation. Here's my opinion. This is all it is. You guys chose to listen to the Think Big podcast on Tuesday night. So you get to listen to my opinion, whether you wanted, whether you asked for it or not. My opinion, use that motivation that you get from being hyped up from a video like this, being hyped up from listening to Eric Thomas, Les Brown, Tony Robbins, whomever. Create a plan. Use your motivation to construct a plan. And when you construct a plan, don't construct a plan that you can stick to for 60 days. Don't construct a plan that you can stick to for 90 days. Don't even construct a plan that you can stick to for 5 months. Construct a plan that you can stick to for 5 years.
Yes.
If you can't stick to the plan for 5 years, what I'm telling you is it wouldn't work. For example, I'm going to use something, I like using sports analogies, right? If I'm an athlete, if I'm getting in shape, and maybe it's New Year's resolution and I'm feeling fired up, I'm feeling excited. I was looking at Alejandro's guns and I'm like, I'm going to go get big arms like that too. So I'm putting myself on this workout program where I'm going to be doing 3 hours a day in the gym, 5 days a week. I'm going to be consuming like 5,000 calories and protein. And it's like, great. But how long can I actually sustain that? I wouldn't be able to sustain it. And here's what happens. Because you can't sustain this radical approach, you end up not even starting it or committing to it. You might start for a week, and the minute you miss 2 or 3 days, you absolutely fall off. You lose all momentum that you've built. So it's as if you never even started. I would much rather you build a program where you say, you know what, I'm going to commit to going to the gym for 45 minutes a day for 4 days out of the week. I'm going to go lift weights for 45 minutes. I'm going to commit to 4 days. If I ever get to do more, awesome, that's a bonus. But I know at the very minimum, I will never miss my 45-minute workouts 4 days a week where I'm in the gym, I'm lifting these weights, because that's something you can stick to 5 years. That's something you can stick to for a lifetime. That's something that produces actual results when momentum, your friend of momentum, shows up to the game. But momentum only comes and hangs out with people who are consistent. And trust me, you need momentum to win. As an entrepreneur, if you do not have momentum, you will lose to the person, because the people that get, Sam, there are 2 types of players in the game of entrepreneurship, right? Right? We got 2 types of players. What are those 2 types of players?
You got people who are on the defense, and then you got people who are on the offense.
I want those other 2 types. You're the ones you were talking about with earlier to me. You were talking about the infinite.
Oh, ooh. I didn't think you were going to go there. Okay.
Yeah, bro, we got to go there because people need that.
People who play the finite game, and there are the people who play the infinite game, and they are 2 very different human beings. But yes, it's those 2.
Right. And like when people are playing the infinite game, what happens is infinite players, they get momentum. Momentum comes and hangs out with infinite players. When you have momentum, you're unstoppable. Right? Finite players don't have momentum, or finite players temporarily have momentum, but they give it up. And if you want to think about what does momentum mean, think of an old school locomotive. Think about when that thing is sitting at the station and it has not begun moving. Doesn't matter how hard you push that thing, it's not going anywhere. You cannot get it to budge. but they would give it some juice, they would give it some steam, they would give it some coal, and eventually that thing starts going and it starts slowly trucking along. And it's moving slowly. I mean, like a person could literally be running alongside the train, grab on and jump onto the train. Like that's how slow moving it is in the beginning. That slow moving. And it takes a massive amount of energy to even begin to get it to budge. And in fact, if I put a wedge of wood in front of one of those wheels, that momentum would come to a standstill. Anything can almost stop it in the beginning. That's the scary thing about entrepreneurship. Anything can almost stop it in the beginning. But then once it starts picking up speed, once that thing's moving at 55 miles an hour, it can literally barrel through a 10-foot wall of steel and keep going. That's what momentum looks like in your life and in your business. And I'll be the first to admit, like I've struggled with creating momentum because it involves consistency, and that's where the discipline comes in. That's where, more than the discipline, having a clear target that you're aiming at, right? If you suck at consistency, let's have a conversation. Seriously, like DM me, because I can guarantee you it's one of two things. You're either not clear on your target or you're not clear on your why. You might have a clear target, but you have no idea why you want it. So it's someone else's target. Or you don't have a clear target at all. It's a very vague wish. I want to make a lot of money. I want to be a successful entrepreneur. What the hell does that mean? Seriously, tell me what, and I'm not being like, I mean that. Actually tell me, what does that mean? Please define it for me for the sake of painting a picture. Because when you say successful entrepreneur, so you want to start you want to create an app for iPhones. No, who said that? Well, you said you want to be a successful entrepreneur. My buddy's a successful entrepreneur. That's what he did. No, I want to be a successful entrepreneur. Oh, okay, so you want to sell motorcycle parts. What? No, who said that? Well, that's what you just said. You said you want to be a successful entrepreneur. I know another buddy of mine who's a successful entrepreneur, and he sells motorcycle parts. If the picture you're putting in other people's minds isn't clear, trust me when I say it's not clear in your own mind. You have to be able to communicate it, first and foremost, to yourself. This is what being an entrepreneur is, ladies and gentlemen.
I wanted this. I started laughing internally, bro. I got reminded of this story Iman Shumpert was saying about Kobe. And it's funny because I can imagine this. Kobe, I consider him one of those guys that, yeah, you're different, bro. Nobody's gonna understand. You're just different. And I think, again, the sacrificial lamb attitude. People were saying, hey, don't put all your eggs in the one basket. And Iman Shumpert said, well, Kobe just came up and said, what if you could just make more eggs? What are you talking about? Put all your eggs in the same basket and make more eggs. Which is like just something that little, if people can understand, like, okay, I'm gonna give it 90 days and see this work out. If it doesn't, I have a backup plan that I can escape to and I'll be okay. No, say I'm done. I am doing this for 5-10 years. That's putting all your eggs in one basket. And if you fail, great. You learn a shit ton. I can guarantee you that. That's going to convert into something else that will work.
Well, you know what's funny? Because even and Sam, you probably know the exact episode. There's a old video of Alex Hormozi or it's not even an old video. It's actually relatively new. It's an interview. He's been doing a lot of interviews recently, I noticed. And I actually have a couple theories on why he's doing that, but that's for another podcast. He spoke on this one interview saying that he had hopped on a phone with a company that he was looking to have come help him out with social media. And he told this company, okay, great. I love everything you guys are saying. And just so you know, I'm willing to commit to this for, I forget if he said 5 months or 5 years, 5 months or 5 years before I have to see a single success or victory. And he totally reframed the person who he was buying it from. That person literally came back to him a few months later and said, like, hey, I just got to tell you, you kind of broke my mind when you said that. And I've been thinking about it ever since, that you were saying that you were willing to commit to the process for 5 years, even if you didn't see any positive results, because that showed me that that's how you need to be thinking long term. As an entrepreneur, your success will also be directly correlated to the length of your thinking, to the time horizons that you learn to think in. If you're thinking, and I promise you, it expands as you get around different people, as you study different people. This is why I recommend studying people who think in longer time horizons. Study billionaires, not millionaires, billionaires, because you're always going to think on a smaller time horizon when you're learning from the outside. So if you're studying a billionaire and they're thinking on 100-year time horizons, you're probably going to be thinking around 10 years, if even that far out. And most people, just being honest, most people don't even think further out than a year. Most people don't think further out than a quarter, let alone a month, let alone a week. And in fact, most people truly are week to week or bi-weekly thinkers. The proof, look at our marketplace. Things are sold on a monthly, bi-weekly, and a weekly subscription base. That's how people are being trained to think and communicate and process thoughts, process ideas, process vision. When you can begin to think longer, you're now moving yourself into the realm of infinite. Because look at this. This is finite. It's on my screen. You can see where it starts and finish. When I start to expand, what happens? You can't see the start and finish anymore. Now you're playing a totally different game. You're a totally different player. The finite player will always lose to the infinite player. Because, Sam, what's the goal of the infinite player in comparison to the finite player?
The infinite player, one, I think the most critical thing to know about them is they're not in love with any end result. They're in love with the process. They're in love with the game. And the most important thing to them is playing the game, continually playing the game and getting better at the game.
Spot on.
I wanted to tack on real quick, Marlon. Something that I actually enjoy is watching, and I don't even watch TV like this, bro, but I enjoy watching shows and series about billionaires. Like I watch Billions, Bobby Axelrod. If you guys didn't watch that, it's crazy. I actually put one of my friends onto this. He was like not watching it for so long that he finally watched it. He was the next day, he was like, "Hey, bro, I'm already on episode 8." I'm like, "Whoa." And like, yeah, it's that addicting because that show, and I watched that show 3 times, bro. And there's a simple reason, not because it's a great show, not because the character is great or I'm a fan of the actor. It's because the way they talk, the way they speak, the way they talk to each other about money. Oh, you want a $5 million bonus? Okay, hey, give her a $5 million bonus real quick. Okay, great. They're talking about billions. So I want my brain to observe all those conversations and all the knowledge of how money actually works so it can become normal to me. It came to a point where like, hey, bro, we just made $200K this month. Okay, yeah, cool. That's cool. Let's keep going. So it's like it doesn't, for other people, it's like, yes, I made it. $200,000. I made it. Don't get me wrong. $200,000. That's a lot of freaking money and it's great. But I have bigger goals. Your goals may be different than mine. So don't let that discourage you, what I'm saying right now. I want to get to the yachts. I want to get, hey, Sam, I'm going to fly in a jet today. I'm going to pick you up. I'm going to take the helicopter to the other spot. Then we're going to take a jet to Italy. And then we're going to come back 2 days after. I want to have that type of conversation. Imagine how free you will feel to say, okay, I'm bored. I'll go to Italy today. Or Marlon, I'll pick you up. Go ahead and take your jet, and then you can hop in my jet. I have an extra one. I'll tell them to go pick you up, and then you can use your jet for us to come back because I know you're using yours for something else. Like those type of conversations is just great. I want to imagine. I want to feel it. So when I do my manifestation, I can track down how much it takes. I can see how billionaires talk because you have to walk the talk, talk like them. So it familiar. I love that show just because like how they talk about this big amount of money like it's nothing.
Bro, and you know what I like is I think people downplay or don't recognize the importance of letting your imagination play, like letting your imagination go to work, letting that, some people are like, man, but that sounds so silly. Right? And they're afraid to imagine. They're afraid to admit they imagine. They're afraid to admit that they see bigger and better for themselves. Guys, where do you think it starts? It starts up here first. You got to have vision. Without vision, the people will perish. Like, it was literally written in scripture 2,000 years ago. You have to be able to have that vision and desensitize yourself. Desensitize yourself and raise that thermostat for the life you want. Raise your thermostat for quality. Raise your thermostat for finances. Unbelievable. So, yeah, I'm excited about this, man. I know we got like 5 minutes left here before we're about to wrap up the episode, but I want to know from like the audience, is this resonating with you guys? Because I'm seeing some people in the chat saying that like this is some fire, that we're dropping some gems, but I don't know. The chat seems kind of quiet. Like, put some fire emojis in the chat if this is resonating with y'all, if this is a worthwhile conversation, or should we not have conversations like this anymore? Because, okay, I'm seeing some yeses in the chat that are coming through, right? I'm seeing some fire in the chat. I'm seeing some people on Instagram respond. So I want to make sure that this is getting through, that we understand this topic, because your thermostat for life will start to change as you step into this world of entrepreneurship, but recognize that change is going to feel uncomfortable in the beginning. It will feel uncomfortable initially.
Very uncomfortable.
So,
one more thing. Let me add on to that. The Mike Tyson quote, consistency is doing uncomfortable things. No, doing things you hate, but doing them like you love it. Yes.
bro, that's a whole even like topic right there. I actually challenged my coaching clients last week. I said, I want you, instead of using your willpower to force yourself to do things you hate, I want you to use your willpower to convince yourself that you love doing those things.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I want you to convince yourself. Like, while you're doing it, I want you to convince yourself, whether you got to say it out loud. Like, bro, I look like a crazy dude in the gym, by the way. When I'm working out in the gym and I'm doing like the exercises that I absolutely hate, I'm literally like, yesterday I was doing like lunges, like with dumbbells in my arm. And like I'm doing like lunges across the gym. And I'm staring in the mirror, smiling at myself like the David Goggins, like a freak. I'm just staring at myself, smiling. Just like, I love this. My legs are like shaking, like they are burning. They're on fire. And I'm convincing myself that I love this, that I'm so grateful to be here, that this is the part where everyone else quits. And I love knowing that I'm making myself better.
Bro, I had this situation. Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I'm just saying that's entrepreneurship. I'm done. I could talk about this forever, but that's entrepreneurship.
I was gonna say I had this week where nothing was going wrong. And I was just on my desk. I'm like, damn, it's too perfect. What's going on? This something needs to go wrong so I can continue learning something. And then my partner, we had a closing going on, and he says, hey, the buyer's backing out because XYZ. And I was like, yes. And I meant to do that internally, but it caught me off guard. And he saw it. He was like, whoa, what do you mean? Yes, our buyer's backing out. I'm like, bro, this is a great opportunity for me to go solve some shit. Like, this is great. What's the problem you said? Okay, great. Give me 10 minutes. Okay, they're ready to move forward. We're good. It was so much fun. Like, those certain things is what make people like want to quit. Like, oh no, the buyer's backing out. But if you define those moments as a stepping stone and you getting better in life, oh my God, you're going to enjoy those failures, those problems, those situations where it's hard. You're going to be like, oh my God, this is great. I get to freaking enjoy this. So that's just me. I have found out how to become very comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And it's going to be really hard for me to be uncomfortable in an uncomfortable situation, if that makes sense. So
I love it. Yo, guys, we're wrapping up today's episode. You absolutely have dues to pay. If you got value, like, I mean, you guys hung out here. There's some of you, like, shout out to Miko, shout out to Tawana, shout out to Carlos, shout out to Victor. Like, y'all are jumping on from the beginning, riding all the way through the entire episode, nonstop with the comments, blowing up the chats. We appreciate you. If you're getting value and you haven't done so already, go ahead and smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, leave a comment, and share this with somebody that you know needs to hear this, because there's someone that's getting ready to jump into entrepreneurship. There's someone who's been in entrepreneurship and they're getting ready to quit today. Send this to a friend who needs to understand what entrepreneurship will feel like, and let them know that they have support. Let them know that you care. By sending this to somebody, you're saying, listen, I care about you. I care about your vision. I care about your journey. I want to see you keep going. Stick into it for another day. Commit to the journey. So that's how you pay your dues for today's episode. And remember to come back, because we're going to be here again next Tuesday for another episode of the Think Big podcast. Actually, guys, by the way, next week I might be flying. I think I'm going to be on a plane flying back to Phoenix. So I will probably be in the air during this episode. So you guys might not have me here. So just saying that right now so no one thinks I'm ducking out. But guys, let us know if you got value. And do me a favor, actually. I love this. This is my favorite thing. Screenshot this right now. Screenshot us and tag us on IG. Yeah, we all hit the cheese, right? So pause it, screenshot us, tag us on IG, and let us know, what was your big takeaway? So I gave you a lot of homework. So I'm going to recap your homework. Hit the like button. Go ahead and do that right now while you're listening. Hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and do that right now while you're listening. Leave a comment. Share this with a friend. And screenshot and tag me, Alejandro, Sam, and Daryl on Instagram, and let us know what your biggest takeaway was. And if you need that KPI tracker, shoot me a DM on IG. In fact, I'm only going to give it to people now if you tag us on IG. So that way I made you do something for it, because it's crazy value. That KPI tracker has helped me make everyone always cares about the money. Yes, it's helped me make more money, but more importantly, it's helped me become more confident with who I am. It truly, it helps me become a happier person. And to me, that's more important than the money. So that's what I'm going to say it does. It's going to make you a more confident, happier person. All right, guys. Looking forward to seeing you next week. And you guys cheese again so I can get the screenshot. All right. Appreciate you, Nico. All right, we're wrapping up. See y'all next Friday.